Hello everyone. This lecture is going to be about atoms, molecules, ions, and chemical bonds. Living things are highly organized and structured. Following a hierarchy, they can be examined on a larger scale, from small to large. The atom is the smallest and most fundamental unit of matter. An atom, by forming chemical bonds, interact with each other and form larger structures, molecules. Molecules, on the other hand, are capable of forming even larger components, macromolecules like sugar, protein, and lipids. And different macromolecules form organelles, the structural compartments of a cell. Organelles form cells, and a group of cells form tissues. Different variety of tissues form organs. Different organs can interact with each other and work together to form organ systems. And finally, organ systems all combined form an organism. So, the first question, what is atom? Atom is the smallest functional component of a living system. And even though the atom is so small, it consists of smaller subparticles. The central part of an atom is called nucleus. The nucleus is composed of two different subparticles, protons and neutrons. So protons are positively charged subparticle and neutron is neutrally charged subparticle. And both subparticles have relatively the same mass. On the other hand, electrons, the third type of subparticle, are spinning around the nucleus and have negative charge. So the mass of an electron is so small that it does not contribute to the mass of an atom. So, molecules are formed as a result of interaction of two or more atoms. By interacting with each other, atoms form chemical bonds. So, how molecules are formed? So, the molecules, as I said, molecules are a group of two or more atoms held together by chemical bonds. So, there are three distinct types of chemical bonds. First one's covalent, ionic, and hydrogen. Here, all three bonds are ordered from the strongest to the weakest, from left to right. Okay, so first type of bond, covalent bonds. So covalent bonds form when electrons between atoms are shared, which means that neither atom completely retains possession of the electron, as it happens with atoms that form strong ionic bonds. I'm going to talk about it later. So covalent bonds occur when the electronegativities, or the ability of an atom to pull an electrons, which means an electronegativity. So covalent bonds occur when the electronegativities of the atoms are similar but not the same. Okay, so let's move on. We can further classify a covalent bond into two other subtypes, nonpolar and polar. Nonpolar covalent bonds form when electrons are shared equally. When two atoms sharing electrons are identical, such as oxygen gas, O2. So the electronegatives are identical and both atoms pull equally on the electrons. On the other hand, polar covalent bonds form when electrons are shared unequally. Atoms in this kind of bond have electronegativities that are different, and unequal distribution of electrons result. The electrons forming the bonds are closer to the atom with the greater electronegativity and produce a negative charge, a partial negative charge, or a pole. So the area around the atom with a weaker pull on the electron produces a positive pole, a partially positively charged atom. So in a molecule of water, for example, electrons are shared between oxygen and hydrogen. Oxygen with a greater electronegativity exerts a stronger pull on a shared electron than does each hydrogen atoms. This unequal distribution of electrons create a negative pole near the oxygen and a positive pole near each hydrogen atoms. So, atoms can form single, double, or triple covalent bonds. So single covalent, double covalent, and triple covalent bonds form when 2, 4, or 6 electrons are shared, respectively. So the number of covalent bonds formed between atoms demonstrate their strength and the actual length of the bond. So the second type of chemical bond is an ionic bond. So ionic bond forms between two atoms when one or more electrons are transferred from one atom to the other, as it's shown here. This bond occurs when electronegatives of atoms are very different and one atom has a much stronger pull on the electrons, so higher electronegativity, than the atom in the bond. So the atom that gains electron has an overall negative charge, and the atom that loses electron an overall positive charge. Because of their positive or negative charges, these atoms are ions. So the attraction of positive ion to the negative ion constitutes to the ionic bond. Sodium chloride forms in ions, and the bonds formed in a molecule of sodium chloride is an ionic bond. So the third type of the chemical bond is hydrogen bonds. So hydrogen bonds are weak bonds between molecules. They form when a partially positively charged hydrogen atom in one covalently bonded molecule is attracted to a partially negatively charged area of another covalently bonded molecule. So in water, the positive pole around a hydrogen atom forms a hydrogen bond to the negative pole around the oxygen atom of another water molecule, but it's not shown in here. So as a result, in this figure, an oxygen as being a donor of a hydrogen bond, and nitrogen, which is another electronegative atom, is being an acceptor. So in average, each water molecules can form 3.4 hydrogen bonds in a liquid form, of course, and 4 full hydrogen bonds when it turns ice. So this is for now. So we end at this point, and see you in the next lecture video. Thank you for your attention.